Welcome to the Fireside Storyteller. Tonight we'll be telling this tale of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, a story that has captured imaginations for centuries. Before we begin this tale, however, I might explain a principle. This tale was written centuries ago, and there are elements of it that are somewhat gruesome. It may not be a tale that young children might want to hear. However, this evening's telling draws from Richard F. Burton's masterful 1886 translation of 1001 Nights. Before we begin, I might mention an interesting note about this translation. Burton preserved the authentic Arabic phrase, open o simsim. In the original language, simsim means sesame. It's actually a clever choice because the sesame pod splits wide when ripe, just as our magical cave will soon part at these words. Yet, across generations of Western storytelling, from childhood games to Hollywood films, these words have transformed into the familiar, open sesame. This phrase has become so woven into our cultural tapestry that children, myself included, boldly speak to pretend doors and hidden passages. Open sesame, hoping to discover their own magical cave of wonders. Tonight, while honoring Burton's scholarly translation, I will use the words we've all grown to love. So gather close to a virtual fire as we journey to ancient Persia, where a humble woodcutter named Ali Baba is about to discover that sometimes the most powerful magic lies in the simplest of phrases. Open sesame. Long ago, in an ancient city of Persia, lived two brothers, Qasim and Ali Baba. When their father died, they split his modest inheritance fairly between them, though both brothers quickly managed to spend every coin. Qasim, elder brother, made a fortunate marriage to a wealthy merchant's daughter. And when his father-in-law passed away, Qasim inherited a prosperous shop filled with rare and precious goods, a warehouse brimming with valuable merchandise, and even gold buried for safekeeping. Throughout the city, people knew him as a man of substance and wealth. Ali Baba's fate took a different path. He married a woman as poor as himself, and together they lived in a humble cottage on the edge of town. Each day, Ali Baba would venture into the forest to gather firewood, load it onto his 3 faithful donkeys, and sell it in the marketplace to earn their daily bread. One day, while Ali Baba was loading his donkeys with dead branches and dry wood that he had gathered, he noticed something strange. A cloud of dust rising high into the air, moving swiftly toward him from the right. As he watched, his heart began to pound, for there, emerging from the dust, rode a large group of horsemen heading straight in his direction. Terror gripped Ali Baba's heart. Fearing that they may be bandits who would kill him and steal his donkeys, he first thought to run. But the riders were too close, and the forest offered no easy escape. Thinking quickly, he led his wood-laden animals into a hidden path among the bushes. And then he scrambled up a thick trunk of an enormous tree, choosing a branch that gave him a perfect view of everything below while keeping him well hidden in the leaves. This massive tree grew right beside a towering rock face, and from his perch, Ali Baba held his breath and he waited. The riders were young and strong, their bearing was fierce and dangerous, and as they approached the rock face, they dismounted as one, and Ali Baba studied them carefully from his height. Their manner and movements soon convinced him. These were no ordinary travelers. These were highwaymen who had surely robbed a wealthy caravan and now sought to hide their spoils. He counted the sight. 40 men in all. From his perch, Ali Baba watched as each robber unbridled and hobbled his horse. Every man then lifted down his saddlebags, which bulged with silver and gold, and the one who seemed to be their captain stepped forward, shouldering his way through the thorns and thickets until he reached a particular spot on this rock face. There he called out in a commanding voice, "Open Sesame!" To Ali Baba's amazement, a wide doorway appeared on the solid rock. One by one, the robbers entered the cave, and their captain last of all. The portal then sealed itself without a sound. Ali Baba remained in his tree, hardly daring to breathe, though tempted to climb down and escape on one of their horses, leading to his donkeys home to safety. He feared the band might emerge at any moment and catch him in the act. So he waited, heart pounding, until the door swung open once more. The captain emerged first, and he stood at the entrance, counting his men as they filed out. When all were assembled, he spoke the magic words, "Close, Sesame." The door vanished into solid rock. Each man then bridled his horse and secured his saddlebags. Following their leader, the band rode away in the direction from which they had come. Still, Ali Baba waited, not daring to move from his hiding place until the last echo of hoofbeats had faded, and he was certain that no rider would return for some forgotten item. Only then did a wild thought enter his mind. "I wonder," he murmured to himself, "if those magical words would work for me as well." Drawing in a deep breath, he clearly called out in a clear voice, "Open Sesame!" The moment Ali Baba spoke these words, the door swung wide, and before him stretched a vast cavern, its vaulted ceiling rising as high as any man could stand. Light filtered in through cleverly placed air holes and round windows carved into the rocky roof, illuminating a sight that took his breath away. Instead of the dark thieves' den he had expected, Ali Baba found himself in a treasury that would have made any king envious. Bales of fine cloth reached from floor to ceiling, silks, brocades, and embroidered fabrics of every description. Mounds of richly covered carpets filled the corners, but most astonishing of all were the countless piles of gold and silver coins, some heaped directly on the ground, others stuffed into leather bags and sacks. Looking at this enormous wealth, Ali Baba realized that generations of thieves must have added to this hidden fortune. The door had sealed itself behind him, but Ali Baba felt no fear, for the magical words remained fresh in his mind. Ignoring the luxurious fabrics, he focused on the sacks of gold coins. He selected just enough to properly load his donkeys, and then he carefully covered his precious cargo with sticks and firewood so that anyone passing by would see only his usual wares. "Open Sesame!" he called, and the door swung wide. Once outside, he spoke the closing words, "Close, Sesame!" For such was the cave's enchantment, that it would seal itself when anyone entered, and then respond only to these magical phrases to open or close again. With his heart pounding with excitement, Ali Baba hurried his donkeys back to the city. Once home, he quickly led them to his yard, and he locked the outer gate. First, he unloaded the wood and sticks, and then, trembling with anticipation, he carried the bags of gold inside to show his wife. His wife's fingers found the gold coins within the bags, and her eyes grew wide with horror. "Husband," she cried, "have you turned to thievery? How could you do this wicked thing?" "Peace, dear wife," Ali Baba said with a gentle smile. "I am no thief. Rather, rejoice with me at our extraordinary good fortune." And he told her of the entire tale of his amazing adventure. He poured out heap after heap of gleaming gold. His wife's scolding turned to delight at both the sight and such wealth and the story of his clever escape. But then she began to count the coins one by one. "My dear," Ali Baba said with fond exasperation, "how long do you plan to count? We should actually dig a hole and hide this treasure before anyone discovers our secret." "You speak wisely," she agreed, "but still I would like to have some idea of how much we have." And when he nodded his permission, she added, "I'll just borrow some scales from your brother's wife." At Kasim's house, Ali Baba's wife asked her sister-in-law, "Might I borrow your scales for a moment?" "Which would you prefer, the large ones or the small ones?" her sister-in-law inquired. "The small one will do nicely," replied Ali Baba's wife. "Wait here while I fetch them," said Kasim's wife. But curiosity burned within her. Slipping aside, she secretly smeared wax and grease inside the scales cup, hoping that a bit of whatever her sister-in-law planned to weigh would stick there. Suspecting nothing, Ali Baba's wife took the scales home. And while her husband continued digging their hiding place, she weighed all the gold. And when they finished concealing their treasure, she returned the scales, never noticing that a single small gold coin remained stuck to the greased cup. But Kasim's wife, seeing the gold stuck to her scales, burned with envy and indignation. "So," she muttered to herself, "they needed my scales to weigh gold coins?" She pondered endlessly how her poor brother-in-law could have come by such wealth that he needed scales to measure it. That evening, when Kasim returned home, his wife could barely contain herself. "You think you are a wealthy man," she declared, "but your brother, Ali Baba, has become an emir compared to you. He has so much gold, he must weigh it with scales, while we merely count our meager coins." "How do you know this?" Kasim demanded. His wife told him about the borrowed scales and, triumphantly, produced the gold coin, an ancient piece bearing some mark of some long-dead king. Kasim spent the night in sleepless torment, twisted by jealousy and greed. At first light, he hurried to his brother's house. "Brother," he said without greeting, "you pretend to be poor and needy, yet you have such stores of gold that you must weigh them with scales." "What do you mean?" Ali Baba asked carefully. "Speak plainly." Kasim's face darkened with anger. "Do not play the fool with me." He thrust forward the gold coin. "You have thousands of these hidden away. My wife found this one stuck to her scales when your wife borrowed them." Ali Baba, seeing the coin, understood at once how his secret had been discovered. He realized that hiding the truth would only breed more suspicion and ill will between them. With a heavy sigh, he told Kasim everything about the 40 thieves, the magical cave, and the countless treasures hidden within. Far from being satisfied, Kasim's eyes glittered with naked greed. "Tell me exactly where this cave lies," he demanded, "and the magical words that open and close its door. And mark me well, brother, if you hold back even the smallest detail, I shall report your golden hoard to the Wali, and then you'll watch your wealth vanish while you languish in prison." Trapped by this threat, Ali Baba revealed all. even the magical phrases. The very next morning, Kasim set out with 10 hired mules. Following his brother's directions, he easily found the great rock and the tree where Ali Baba had hidden. His heart was racing with anticipation, and he called out, "Open Sesame!" The door swung wide, and Kasim rushed inside. The sight of such overwhelming riches stopped in his tracks. Jewels and treasures beyond imagination surrounded him. The door sealed itself behind him. But Kasim paid no attention. Drunk on the thought of his coming wealthy, he wandered the cave in delirious joy until finally, remembering his purpose, he gathered enough gold to load his 10 mules, and he placed the bags near the entrance. But as he prepared to leave, his mind went blank. "Open barley?" he shouted. The door remained shut. Panic rising in his throat, Kasim began calling out the names of every grain he could remember. Wheat, rice, corn, everything, except the one word he desperately needed. Sesame had vanished from his memory as though it had never existed. The very treasures that had filled his heart with such joy now mocked him. Back and forth he paced, his footsteps echoing in the cave that had become his prison. The bags of gold by the door, so carefully gathered, lay forgotten as despair settled over him. In his greed and envy, Kasim had sealed his own fate. At noon, the robbers returned to find several mules wandering near their cave. The sight puzzled them, for Kasim had forgotten to tether the animals, leaving them free to graze among the bushes. Though strange to see beasts so far from town, the thieves paid them little mind as they dismounted before the secret door. Inside the cave, Kasim's heart nearly stopped at the sound of approaching hoofbeats. He collapsed in terror, knowing the bandits had returned. Yet, as the door began to open, desperation gave him courage. He gathered himself and he rushed toward freedom, only to crash headlong into the bandit thief himself. In an instant, one of the thieves drew his sword, and with a terrible swing, Kasim's life ended. The bandits hurried inside, quickly returning to the bags of gold that Kasim had gathered to their proper places. They marveled at how this stranger had entered their sanctuary. The sheer rock face made it impossible to enter through the high windows, and only those who knew the magical words could open the door. As a grim warning to any who might discover their secret, they cut Kasim's body into parts and hung the pieces on either side of the inner door. Their gruesome task complete, the thieves sealed the cave and rode away to continue their dark business. As night fell, Kasim's wife paced her home with growing dread. Finally, she rushed to Ali Baba's house. "Brother," she cried, "Kasim has not returned. You know where he went. Oh, I fear something terrible has happened." Ali Baba shared her fears, but he tried to offer comfort. "My dear sister," he said gently, "perhaps Kasim is simply being cautious. He may be taking a longer route home to avoid being seen. I'm sure he will return soon." But in his heart, he knew his words rang hollow. Kasim's wife returned home, trying to find comfort in Ali Baba's words. But as midnight came and went, despair crept into her heart. And though she yearned to cry out her fears, she dared not. The neighbors must not learn their secret. In the silence of her room, she wept and blamed herself. Why did I let envy poison me? Why did I let Kasim Why did I tell Kasim about Ali Baba's fortune? My jealousy has brought this curse upon us. At first light, she hurried to Ali Baba's door, begging him to search for his brother. His own heart heavy with worry, Ali Baba set out immediately with his asses toward the forest. Near the cave, his blood ran cold at the sight of fresh bloodstains on the rock. Finding neither Kasim nor the 10 mules, he steeled himself as he spoke the magical words. Open, Sesame! The grim sight within confirmed his worst fears. His brother's quartered body hung on either side of the entrance, a barbaric warning to all who might discover the thieves' secret. Fighting back his horror, Ali Baba tenderly wrapped his brother's remains in 2 cloths, laying them carefully on one donkey beneath a covering of sticks and firewood. Upon his other asses, he loaded as many bags of gold as they could carry, similarly hidden from prying eyes. With one last "Close, Sesame," he began the solemn journey home. At his own house, he instructed his wife to bury the gold with utmost secrecy, sparing her the knowledge of his gruesome discovery. And then he led the 3rd donkey, bearing its tragic burden, to Kasim's house. His gentle knock was answered by Morgiana, his brother's clever slave girl, known throughout the entire neighborhood for her quick wit and her resourceful nature. She opened the door silently, letting Ali Baba lead the donkey into the courtyard. Morgiana, he said softly, lowering his brother's shrouded remains. Prepare yourself for a sorrowful task. Your master needs proper burial. I must tell your mistress, but I will return quickly to help. Before Ali Baba could find his brother's widow, she saw the sorrow etched in his face. What news of my husband? She cried. Your eyes cannot tell me. It cannot be good. Gently he told of Kasim's fate and the bandits' cruel deeds. What has happened cannot be undone, he added softly. But we must guard this secret with our lives. Through her tears, she nodded. Fate has taken my husband, but I swear to keep this truth buried in my heart. Allah's will cannot be changed, Ali Baba said. When your mourning time ends, I shall make you my wife. You'll want for nothing, and my first wife, being kind of spirit, will welcome you as a sister. His sister-in-law could only weep and whisper her acceptance. After consulting with the resourceful Morgiana about the burial arrangements, Ali Baba departed, leaving the clever slave girl to set their plans in motion. Morgiana wasted no time at the druggist's shop. She played her part with subtle skill. My master suffers gravely, she explained, requesting medicines for the desperately ill. The druggist, concerned, asked who lay so near to death. My master Kasim, she replied, her voice heavy with worry. For days he has neither spoken nor eaten. We fear the worst. The next day found her again at the druggist, seeking stronger remedies. Alas, she sighed, tears gleaming in her eyes. I fear he may be too weak for even this medicine. Death's shadows lie heavy upon our house. Meanwhile, Ali Baba waited anxiously for the sounds of mourning to arise from his brother's home, ready to join in the funeral rites. But Morgiana had not finished her clever preparations. Early on the 2nd day, she veiled herself and sought out Baba Mustafa, an aged tailor known for his skill in crafting burial shrouds. Pressing a gold piece into his weathered hand, she made an unusual request. Bind a blindfold across your eyes and come with me. When Mustafa hesitated, A second gold coin, gleaming in Morgiana's palm, proved persuasive. Once he agreed, she bound his eyes and guided him through the streets to her master's house. There, in the darkened room, she unveiled his eyes and gestured to her grim task. The quartered body needed joining limb to limb. Sew these parts together, she instructed, draping a cloth over the remains, and then fashion a proper shroud. Another gold piece awaits your swift work. Mustafa's practiced hands moved quickly, and when the shroud lay ready, Morgiana paid him as promised, blindfolded him once more, and led him back through the winding streets. Returning home with urgent steps, she enlisted Ali Baba's help to perform the ritual washing, and then laid their solemn work upon clean ground. The mosque's imam answered her summons promptly. 4 neighbors, as custom demanded, lifted the bier to their shoulders. Morgiana led the procession, her head bare to the sun, beating her breast in grief, while Ali Baba and the neighbors followed with measured steps. The cemetery received its burden, and after prayers were spoken, they left Qasim to face the questioners of the dead, Munkar and Nakir. Following the city's traditions, the quarter's women gathered to comfort the widow, sharing an hour of solace before leaving her more resigned to her fate. Ali Baba maintained 40 days of proper mourning, while only he, his wife, and the clever Morgiana held the dark secret. When custom allowed, he married his brother's widow and settled his nephew, a young man well versed in commerce, to manage Qasim's shop. But fate's wheel turned again. The thieves, returning to their cave, found their grim warning vanished and their gold diminished. Their captain's eyes narrowed with concern. This threatens all we and our forefathers have gathered through long years, he declared. We must uncover this mystery, lest our treasure dwindle coin by coin into some stranger's hands. The band agreed. Someone else knew their magical words, someone who had spirited away both body and gold. After careful debate, they settled on a plan. One among them, chosen for his keen wit, would disguise himself as a merchant from distant lands. He would walk the city streets, listening for words of recent deaths. In such news, they might find the thread that would lead them to their quarry. One thief stepped forward, his eyes glinting with determination. Let me seek those tidings in this town, he offered. Should I fail, my life is forfeit. Dawn had barely touched the market square when the disguised bandit arrived. Among shuttered shops, only Baba Mustafa's lamp burned bright, the old tailor already perched on a stool with needle in hand. Good day, the thief called with practiced cheer. How do you manage such fine stitching in this dim light? The tailor glanced up, sizing up the stranger. Oh, you're not from here. My eyes may be old, but they're sharp enough. Why, just yesterday, I sewed together a dead body in a room black as pitch. The thief's heart quickened at these careless words. Surely you jest, he said carefully. You mean you stitched a burial shroud? Ask no more questions, Mustafa answered, turning back to his work. A gold coin flashed between the thief's fingers. I keep secrets as well as any honest man, he said smoothly, pressing the coin into Mustafa's palm. I only wish to know where you performed this task. Might you show me the way? Greed brightened the tailor's eyes. My own eyes never saw the path, he admitted. A slave woman led me there with a blindfold. guiding me through the streets to some house. In a darkened room, she unveiled my eyes just long enough for me to sew the body and shroud. And then she blindfolded me again and led me home. Perhaps, the thief suggested, another coin appearing in his hand, you could lead me to where she first blindfolded you. I could cover your eyes just as she did. Might that help? You remember the way? The second gold piece vanished into Mustafa's eager pocket alongside the first. Abandoning his shop without a second thought, he led the thief to where Morgiana had first blindfolded him. The bandit bound his eyes anew, and he took his hand, while Mustafa, no stranger to clever dealing, counted each step with care. Suddenly he halted. Here, he declared. This is where she began leading me. They stood before Ali Baba's house, where once Qasim had lived. The thief, quick in his work, drew a white chalk mark upon the door, and then removed Mustafa's blindfold. Allah reward your kindness, the thief said smoothly. Tell me, who lives here now? In truth, I know little of this quarter, Mustafa replied. And the thief, seeing no more profit in questioning him, sent him back to his shop with honeyed words. Then he hurried to rejoin his waiting companions in the forest. Fate, however, had other plans. Sharp-eyed Morgiana, stepping out on an errand, spotted the telltale white marks upon her master's door. She stood motionless, her quick mind racing. Understanding bloomed. Some enemy had marked their house for darker purposes yet to come. Without a word to anyone, she chalked identical marks on every neighboring door, a silent smile playing at her lips as she worked. The thief, meanwhile, proudly relating his successes to his fellows, led by the captain, the band filtered into the city by different routes, gathering near where the scout awaited to identify the marked house. But as they approached, the captain's satisfaction turned to bewilderment. Every door bore an identical chalk mark. Which house? He demanded. Among all these bearing the same sign, which one is our target? The guide's confidence crumbled to dust. I swear I marked but one door, he stammered, his earlier pride withering. These other marks, I cannot explain them, nor can I say with certainty which was mine. Then we have wasted our time and effort, the captain growled. Back to the forest, all of you. We must think anew. His dark mood suggested their unsuccessful guide might soon regret his failure. The captain, his patience wearing thin, imprisoned the failed scout before addressing his band. Who among you, he challenged, will bring me news that leads to our plunderer? A second thief stepped forward eagerly. I shall succeed where he failed. Laden with gifts and promises, this new scout hurried townward, destiny steering his steps like his predecessor, straight to Baba Mustafa's shop. Gold coins once again loosened the greedy tailor's tongue and feet, leading blindfolded to Ali Baba's door. There, noting the white mark, the chief cleverly drew a red chalk sign beside it. Pleased with his cunning, he slipped away to report his triumph, but Morgiana's eyes never missed anything. The red mark drew her attention like a flame, and with quiet laughter in her heart, she once again marked every neighboring door to match. And when the bandits returned, a forest of red signs greeted them, leaving the second scout to face his captain's wrath behind prison walls. The captain, his frustration mounting, realized truth often requires a leader's touch. 2 men have failed, he muttered. Now I must find this house myself. Following the well-worn path to Baba Mustafa, who had grown quite rich from this blindfolded adventure, the captain located Ali Baba's home. But he made no mark upon the door, choosing instead to engrave its location upon his memory. Returning to his men, a calculating smile played across his face. "Bring me 19 mules," he commanded, "and 38 large leather jars, one filled with mustard oil, the rest empty." His plan unfurled with deadly precision. 37 thieves would hide within the jars, 2 loaded on each mule, while he, disguised as an oil merchant, would beg shelter for the night. Under cover of darkness, he explained, his eyes glinting, "We'll rise from our jars and reclaim our treasure, leaving no one alive to tell the tale." The band sprang into action, gathering mules and jars, and after 3 days of preparation, as twilight painted the sky in deeper hues, each thief slipped into his oil-laden vessel. The captain, now transformed into a humble merchant, led his caravan of silent killers toward Ali Baba's house, where fate had drawn the master himself to take an evening stroll before his door. The captain bowed low, his merchant's disguise as carefully crafted his words. "I come from a distant village with oil to sell," he explained. His voice carried just the right amount of weary concern. "Usually I arrive earlier, but today fortune frowns upon me. Might I, with your kind permission, shelter in your courtyard for the night? My poor mules need rest, and these heavy jars must come down from their backs." Ali Baba, though he had once heard this same voice echoing in the thieves' caves, found the disguise impenetrable. He welcomed the supposed merchant with his warm hospitality. That was his nature, pointing out an empty shed for the mules and dispatching a slave boy to fetch water and grain. And then he called to Morgiana, his voice carrying the easy authority of a trusted master. "We have a guest tonight. See that he wants for nothing." Domestic plans flowed smoothly forward. Ali Baba, returning again to his guest, added, "Morgiana, I'll visit the hammam tomorrow. Have Abdullah prepare clean white clothes, and please make your special broth for my return." Her quiet, "Yes, master," held its usual efficiency. While Ali Baba retired to his rest, the captain made a show of tending his mules. But in the privacy of deepening shadows, he whispered to his hidden men, "At midnight, when you hear my signal, slice open these jars and spring forth ready for blood." Then he followed Morgiana's lamp-lit guidance to his sleeping chamber, declining her offers of further service with careful courtesy. But fate spun in threads through Morgiana's simple task. As she prepared her master's clothes and set the broth to simmer, the kitchen's lamps flickered and died one by one. Not a drop of oil remained to light them anew. Abdullah, noticing Morgiana's frustration, offered a sleepy suggestion from his comfortable spot in the hall. "Why such worry? The merchant's jars in the shed are full of oil. Take what you need." With that helpful advice delivered, he settled back to rest, wanting to be fresh for Ali Baba's morning bath. Morgiana blessed the boy's simple solution. Oil can in hand, she padded toward the shadowy shed, where the great jars stood like silent sentinels. As she approached the first vessel, a whisper slithered out that froze her steps. "Is it time to strike?" Her heart leaped, but her wits remained sharp as steel. "Not yet," she answered, masking her voice to match the captain's. In that instant, her mind blazed with understanding. These were no ordinary oil jars, and the merchant was no simple trader. "My poor master," she thought, "has welcomed a viper's nest of robbers into his home." With remarkable courage, she moved from jar to jar, giving the same disguised reply to each whispered question. Only the last jar truly held oil, from which she filled her can with steady hands. Returning to her kitchen, she lit the lamps and drew forth the largest cauldron she could find. The oil went in, and beneath it she built a roaring fire. As the oil began to bubble and seethe, Morgiana's face set in grim determination. One by one, she carried the boiling liquid to the jars, pouring death upon the thieves, who could neither escape nor cry out. Where once had hidden living men, now each vessel became a coffin. Her terrible task complete, Morgiana stood in the silent courtyard, her shadow dancing against the walls of the lamplight. The night's peace had returned, but a dreadful price she alone could carry. Her grim work complete, Morgiana returned to her kitchen's familiar warmth, latched the door, and calmly resumed brewing Ali Baba's broth. The night's horror settled into silence, known only to her. An hour crept by before the captain stirred. Opening his window to darkness and silence, he clapped his hands once, twice, 3 times, each signal falling dead in the quiet air. Confusion turned to concern as he hurried to the shed, muttering, "Surely they haven't all fallen asleep at this crucial moment." The first jar stopped him cold. Heat radiated from its surface, and a horrifying smell of oil and flesh struck his nostrils. Each vessel told the same tale, and sudden terror gripped him. With the practiced ease of a thief, he scaled the garden wall and vanished into the night. His grand scheme shattered. Morgiana waited briefly for the captain's return, but her sharp ears caught the subtle sounds of his escape. Knowing the street door remained securely locked, and her deadly work had succeeded, she finally allowed herself to rest, though sleep came slowly to one who had fought such a battle of wits. 2 hours before dawn, Ali Baba rose for his planned visit to the hammam, blissfully unaware of the night's events. Morgiana had chosen not to wake him, knowing that even a moment's hesitation might have spoiled her desperate gambit. When Ali Baba returned home in the morning, he blinked in surprise at the still waiting jars. Strange, he mused, that our oil merchant hasn't taken his goods to market. "Master," Morgiana said quietly when he asked about their guest, "may Allah grant you 90 years of safety, but come, I have something to show you in private." Leading him to the courtyard, she first secured the door, then gestured to one of the massive jars. "Please," she said, her voice steady but grave, "look inside and tell me if you find oil or something else entirely." Ali Baba leaped backward with a startled cry at the sight of a dead man, his courage momentarily deserting him. "Peace, master," Morgiana soothed, a hint of gentle amusement touching her voice. "He can't harm you now. Death has made him quite harmless." Steadying himself against the wall, Ali Baba drew a shaky breath. "Oh, Morgiana, what darkness have we escaped? How came this villain to his end?" "Praise be to Allah," she answered, her practical tone helping to calm his nerves. "I'll tell you everything, but softly now. The neighbors needn't share our secrets. First examine each jar yourself." One by one, Ali Baba peered into the vessels, finding in each a fully armed man scalded beyond his life. His amazement rendered him speechless until at last he managed to ask, "But what of the oil merchant himself?" "That tale needs telling too," Morgiana said with the faintest smile. "But you've just returned from your bath. Let's have you settled with some warm broth first. A man thinks better with a full stomach." The familiar comfort of his own house embraced Ali Baba as Morgiana served the fragrant broth she had somehow found time to prepare, despite her night's deadly work. After several soothing sips, he said, "Now then, my clever girl, set my mind at ease. Tell me how you have saved us all." Let me tell you how it happened, master. Morgiana began, settling into her tale with the same efficiency she brought to all tasks. After you retired and I had given Abdullah your clean clothes, I set about preparing your broth. When it came to time to skim it, I found every lamp had gone dark. Not a drop of oil remained. Abdullah, half asleep but trying to be helpful, suggested I borrow some from our merchant's jars in the shed. The first jar changed everything. As I approached with my can, a whisper slithered out like a snake. Is it time to strike? My heart jumped, but my wits stayed sharp. Here was no merchant's stock, but a viper's nest brought to your very door. I answered in the captain's voice, not yet, and moved to the next jar. Another whisper, another false answer. One by one, I discovered your supposed guest had filled 37 jars, not with oil, but with armed killers. She paused, a hint of satisfaction crossing her face. The last jar, though, the one truly held oil, and there lay their undoing. I filled the lamps and then set our largest cauldron on the fire. And when the oil began to dance and spit with heat, I carried it to each jar in turn, and those who had hoped to deal death received it instead. Her voice took on a cooler tone. I watched from the kitchen window afterwards. The captain woke and signaled his men, but received only silence. And when he discovered their fate, he fled like a shadow over the garden wall. Only then did I allow myself to rest, knowing that you were safe. She straightened her shoulders slightly, and that, master, is how the oil merchant's plot came to boil over, quite literally. There's more you should know, master, Morgiana continued. Her efficient manner softened slightly. I have carried the secret for days, wanting to protect you from worry. It began with a white chalk mark on the door, followed by a red one the next day. And though their purpose eluded me, my heart whispered danger. So I marked every neighbor's door to match, making each sign so precise that no one could tell the original from my copies. Her dark eyes held Ali Baba's gaze steadily. Those marks, master, surely came from the forest bandits, helping them target our house. 2 of their band remain alive, though their whereabouts elude me. But the 3rd, their captain, who fled over our wall, he troubles me most. He's tasted failure twice now, and will show no mercy should he find you. Let me continue watching over you, for I've grown rather skilled at spoiling their plans. Joy and gratitude brightened Ali Baba's face. My clever Morgiana, name any reward you wish. I'll never forget how your quick wit has saved us all. First, she answered practically, we must bury these bodies deep where no curious eyes will find them. Secrecy remains our strongest shield. The garden's peaceful shade soon witnessed grimmer work. Ali Baba and Abdullah dug a pit size to hold its dark burden, and while Morgiana gathered the thieves' weapons and gear, together they transferred the bodies, erasing all traces of their grim task, until the ground lay smooth and innocent as ever. The weapons they concealed, while Abdullah helped his master lead the mules to market one by one, selling them off so naturally that no eyebrow raised in the transaction. In the end, only 3 people knew what lay behind the garden's tranquil surface, and they kept their peace. Though life appeared to return to normal, anxiety gnawed at Ali Baba's peace. Every shadow might hide the surviving thieves or their vengeful captain, forcing him to guard both his movements and his newfound wealth with utmost care. Meanwhile, the captain nursed his rage in the forest depths, his complexion ashen as smoke rising from dying embers. His scattered thoughts gradually crystallized into a single purpose. Ali Baba must die. Only then he could preserve the treasure that his enemy might claim with those magical words. Pride and tradition also drove him, Had not generations of his family led the bandits before him? He would rebuild, but first must remove this threat. Dawn found him transformed, wrapped in the elegant garments of a wealthy merchant. At a city caravan, he listened carefully for news of mass murders or Ali Baba's arrest, but heard nothing. The silence told him volumes. His enemy was both clever and discreet. With characteristic thoroughness, the captain established himself in the marketplace, renting a shop directly across from where Ali Baba's nephew, Qasim's son, now traded. Calling himself Chua Hassan, he filled the store with the finest goods from the forest cache. His charming manners soon won over neighboring merchants, but he lavished particular attention on the handsome young man across the way. When Ali Baba came to visit his nephew one morning, the captain's keen eyes missed nothing. "Who is that frequent visitor to your shop?" he asked the youth with careful, casual interest. "My uncle," came the innocent's reply. "My father's brother." The captain redoubled his friendship, treating the young man to exquisite meals and costly gifts. And when the nephew, feeling obliged to reciprocate, but ashamed of his modest home, sought Ali Baba's counsel, his uncle's eyes twinkled with characteristic warmth. "Your thought does you credit," Ali Baba said. "Tomorrow's Friday, when all respectable merchants close shop. Take him walking in the afternoon and guide his steps here. Morgiana will prepare a feast worthy of his hospitality. Leave everything to me." So on Friday afternoon, the nephew led Chwan Hassan through the gardens, and as if by chance, down the very street where Ali Baba lived. When they reached Ali Baba's house, the nephew knocked and called out with careful, feigned spontaneity, "My lord, this is my second home. My uncle has heard such praise of your kindness and longs to meet you. Would you honor us by entering?" Though triumph blazed in his heart at this perfect opportunity, Khawaja Hassan made a show of polite reluctance until the young man finally persuaded him inside. Ali Baba welcomed him with all the warmth, especially praising his kindness to Qasim's son. The captain answered with honeyed word about the youth's wisdom beyond his years. When the guest rose to leave, Ali Baba insisted he stay for dinner. The captain demurred, claiming his physician forbade him salt, an excuse that made Morgiana's eyes narrow when her master related. Who, she wondered, refuses salt at a host's table? But she held her peace and he watched. The moment she saw their guest, despite his merchant's disguise, she recognized the robber captain. The hidden dagger beneath his robe confirmed her fears. Ah, she thought, a grim smile touching her lips. So that's why he fears salt. He plans to murder my master before sharing his bread. We shall see about that. After serving the saltless meal, Morgiana transformed herself, donning a dancer's silk and veils, a jeweled dagger at her waist. She enlisted young Abdullah with his tambourine. Their entrance delighted Ali Baba, who encouraged them to entertain his guest. Morgiana's dance grew ever more daring, the blade flashing as she whirled, and finally, making her rounds for coins as custom demanded, she approached the captain last. As he reached for his purse, her dagger found its mark. With lightning speed, the notorious bandit fell dead before he could draw his own blade. "Unhappy girl!" Ali Baba cried. "What have you done?" "Saved your life once more," she answered calmly. "Search him." The dagger in the dead man's clothes proved her right, and Ali Baba's gratitude overflowed. "Twice now you've preserved my life," he declared. "You shall be free, and more, "You shall marry my nephew if he consents." The young man, who had long admired Morgiana's grace and wit, agreed eagerly. They buried the captain in the garden, and soon after celebrated the wedding with all proper splendor. Time smiled upon them all. Ali Baba, finding the cave untouched on the careful visit, shared its secret with his children and grandchildren. The poor woodcutter, who had once barely fed his family, lived out his days in comfort and joy, blessed not just by treasure, but by the loyalty and cleverness of those who loved him. And so in the end, it was not gold, but human hearts, faithful, brave, and true, that brought the greatest fortune to his house.